Welcome back to Sports Hop. You already know what time it is. It's your boy Mack B, back at it, back in the building. Episode 43. Man, time flies when you're having fun. It's on and popping. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all the love. Support the movement here at Sports Hop. I got Solomon in the building as well. Checking in with my big bro. How you feeling, man?
I'm great, man. How are you? Like the hat?
Hey, man, I'm overworked. But I love every minute of it, right? We got a lot to cover, so we're going to dive right in, and we're going to land in Boulder, Colorado. Shout out to Coach Prime and the Buffaloes, constantly under the spotlight every single week. A lot of expectations, a lot of pressure. What a great game that was in Boulder, as they actually came with the mile-high miracle. Sanders connected with no time left to get the game into overtime. And then the Buffaloes ended up winning that game in overtime. Travis Hunter is a beast. Shedeur Sanders is a beast. A very dynamic offensive, personnel for Colorado. I love what they're doing. These guys are definitely like generational talent players. Both of them should be in consideration for the Heisman Trophy. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what Colorado's record ends up being at the end of the year. You got to give love and give credit where it's due. I'll start with Travis Hunter, okay? Two-way player, generational talent. Nobody's doing it at this level. I've never seen an athlete perform on both sides of the ball at this level. He literally plays 125 snaps a game. 125 snaps on both sides of the football. I'm like, this dude never gets tired. I'm like, what is in your diet? Let me know. Let me and Solomon know what you're drinking and eating, man, so we can become superhuman like you. But I love what Travis Hunter's been doing. This season, not only defensively, he's been, a beast. He's also had, 472 yards, 5 touchdowns, on the field and doing his thing as a receiver. But nonetheless, I really love what's going on with Travis Hunter. He definitely is worthy of Heisman contention. I mean, he's just been a dominant player, forcing that fumble in overtime to seal the victory for the Buffaloes. I just love what he's doing as a player. Definitely going to be dominant at the next level, provided he stays healthy. And then we got Shedeur Sanders with 11 touchdowns on the year, only 2 picks. He's got over 1,300 yards passing. The offensive line is definitely getting better. Coach Prime and those guys are definitely making some adjustments. So shout out to the Buffaloes in the Big 12. This is their first year. They've got some tough games coming up. But I think Colorado definitely is viable. I think they're going to be in a lot of these football games. I don't see them getting blown out or getting dominated. And I think, Vegas needs to give them a little more respect. I know the opening betting line, the over-under at the beginning of the season for Colorado was 5.5 in terms of wins. Well, they've already eclipsed 3 wins. I think they're going to go over 5.5 wins. They still got 8 more games to play. So I like their chances. I love what Coach Prime is doing in there in terms of instilling that culture up in Boulder. And I really believe that Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders both deserve to be in the running for the Heisman Trophy. I know it's early on, but when you look at the numbers, you look at their play, you look at their impact of what they've been able to do. And not only on the field, but off the field, with the NIL, the name, image, likeliness. I mean, these guys are getting paid. They're getting the bag, and I'm not mad at them. They deserve every penny and every dollar that they get rewarded. So big-time shout-out to Coach Prime, the entire program up in Boulder, Colorado Buffaloes. I love what they're doing. Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Horn Jr., the whole squad. And hopefully Shiloh comes back. He's been banged up with I believe, a broken forearm. He should be back, hopefully, in about a month or so. We'll see how that plays out. Also, on another note, shout out to Coach Prime, basically instilling like financial literacy for these players, opening up bank accounts and putting money in accounts for these players, kind of to get them going early on and establish like some financial responsibility. I don't hear about too many coaches in the college ranks doing that for their players. So he's not only a great coach, he's a father, he's a leader, and he's a big-time motivator. So it's got a big, bright future up in Boulder for the Buffaloes and Coach Prime. So good luck to you guys the rest of the way. And I definitely want you to tap in, and we'd love to have you on the show. Moving on, we are headed to the Sunshine State. We are going down to Jacksonville, Florida, and we're going to talk about the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars are definitely coming out very, very slow. They haven't won a football game. Doug Peterson is on the hot seat. And speaking of being on the hot seat, I think it's time to look at Trevor Lawrence, right? He leads the NFL since he's been drafted. He's got 61 turnovers, okay, in the last 3 years. 61 turnovers, leading the league, and 21 of those have been fumbles. So he hasn't won a football game in his last 8 starts. He's 0-8, so he's lost 8 consecutive starts. He's got the most turnovers in the league since he came into the league. He signed that big deal. I believe he's making about $55 million a year. That's a lot of lettuce. In fact, that lettuce is officially wilted right now because he has been underperforming. And I think it's time to really evaluate the quarterback position in Jacksonville and really take a look at what else is out there, because he's not getting it done. He's not reading the defense. He's trying to get the ball in the tight windows. He's turning the ball over. He's overthrowing a lot of receivers. And I've been told through sources around the league that he does genuinely like football, but he is not in love with football. So he's not a guy, according to my sources, that's going to, give it that extra push and really, really just eat and sleep the football all the time and study the game at a high level. But something's going on with Trevor Lawrence, because he definitely was highly touted coming out of Clemson. But I think that he's been struggling to the point where it's time for the Jaguars to kind of look at what else is out there, or put in a backup and see what we have, because maybe they can, spark the team with a change under center. It worked in Carolina, right, with Andy Dalton. So I think it's time to take a look at, Trevor Lawrence and that situation. And Doug Peterson is on the hot seat. I don't think he makes it, 3 more weeks. If they go 0-5 or 0-6, he's going to have a short leash and he's going to be out of there. So, but you can't put all the blame on the coach. Coaches coach players. Players have to perform on the field. I say it all the time. Doug Peterson's not throwing the football on behalf of Trevor Lawrence. He's not making those poor decisions, when it comes to coverages and things of that nature. So I think the Jags really have to do some soul searching. They're in the AFC South. Which I believe Houston is going to win that division, but you still got the Colts. You've got some other teams, Tennessee. So we're going to see what happens, but Jacksonville's in big trouble. And I think Trevor Lawrence is a big-time disappointment. So what are your thoughts, Solomon, in terms of the future of the Jags, Doug Peterson as the head coach, and does Trevor Lawrence need to be put on the bench and sit down, and let's see what else is out there for the Jags?
Well, I will say, first of all, no to benching, because
really,
yeah, and I say that
I disagree.
I say that because they don't have many other options, right? And here's the thing that's going on right now in the NFL. They are paying guys before guys have proven their worth. Right?
Exactly. And they did that with Trevor.
They did that with Trevor. So there's a lot of these middling quarterbacks. You got Trevor Lawrence. You got, people may hate me for this, but you got Justin Herbert, right? You got guys who seem like they can be franchise quarterbacks, but they haven't put it out there yet. Even my guy Tua, it's the same thing. They seem like they've got 1 year, decent year performance, and they're getting paid all these big bucks, right? So they just haven't proven themselves to be. So now think about all of the bona fide quarterbacks in the NFL right now. You got Patrick Mahomes. You can argue Lamar Jackson,
soon to be the GOAT,
right? You can talk
Patrick Mahomes,
Josh Allen, right? You could say Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford. I think he's proven. Aaron Rodgers. There aren't that many. Everybody else has 1 or 2 years of decent numbers on a decent team, and they're getting paid. So I would say this. I agree with you. He is underperforming. He is not as good as people say him, as they tout him to be, but that is a symptom league-wide. But they just can't bench him because they got nobody else. Who else you going to get?
Well, I agree with you to a certain extent, but you're wrong about Herbert. Herbert has proven his worth and his value. He's just been injured. He's gotten hurt.
Yeah, but the Chargers haven't won anything. You know what I mean? And they haven't gone.
But they didn't have the right coach neither.
All right.
And going for it on your own 30-yard line every week, when it's 4th and 3. I mean, I can't blame Justin Herbert for that. I just think because of his injuries, he's been limited. And then they didn't have the right structure. The Chargers didn't have the right identity until now. Now you got Harbaugh in there, and we'll tackle that subject on another show. But nonetheless, I do think that it's time to kind of reevaluate the quarterback position in Jacksonville and see what they got. Duval County. I know that's what they claim down there. So I think Duval needs to get it done and see what else is going on behind center, because Trevor Lawrence is just not getting it done. But I do know somebody who is getting it done. Shout out to the rookie, Jayden Daniels. We're going to the nation's capital with the Commanders. He lit up that Cincinnati Bengals defense, and the Commanders now are 2-1 on the year. I really like Jayden Daniels' game. I said way back before the season started, I thought that he was the steal of the draft at number 2, and I also said I thought the Commanders would be a playoff caliber team, and they're proving it thus far. So shout out to the Commanders and Jayden Daniels. I really like his game. He's only a rookie, but the steal of the draft, number 2 pick, definitely living up to all those expectations. 664 yards on the year, 2 touchdowns, but 0 turnovers. That's the key factor. No turnovers at all. He doesn't make the mistakes. He's poised. He doesn't look like a rookie out there. And I love how they do the read option and the way he can basically facilitate, almost looking like it's a handoff to the running back and take it out of his stomach and then have the football, confusing the defense. So Jayden Daniels is definitely going to be a star in this league. And to be honest with you, I'm not the only one noticing, but many people believe that he's a much better quarterback than Caleb Williams, who's the number 1 pick from the Bears. So I know that Caleb is a good athlete. He started at USC. But some of the things he's been able to get away in college, it's not going to happen in the NFL, because these players are faster, they're smarter, things are happening much quicker. So I do wish him well, but I do believe if you compare the two in terms of their numbers, in terms of the team records, Jayden Daniels by far is the better quarterback right now. It remains to be seen if that's going to be a permanent statement. But as of right now, I do like what Jayden Daniels is doing. The Commanders are loaded on offense, you know what I mean? You've got Terry McLaurin. You've got Brian Robinson Jr. You've got some great players on that offensive side of the football. And Dan Quinn is the new head coach. So I like what they're doing in the nation's capital with the Commanders. New ownership, new coach, new players. I think it's just, new life in Washington for the Commanders. And I think that I don't think they're going to win the division, but I do think that they can, compete for a wild card in the NFC East and make the playoffs. And that would be fun to watch and see what the Commanders can do. But I really believe in Jayden Daniels. I like their personnel. I like their skill set. Defensively, they've got to clean up a few things. But overall, Washington is a much better team already this year than what they put on the field last year. Any thoughts coming from Washington, Solomon, in terms of Jayden Daniels' game, his numbers versus Caleb Williams and the Bears? What are your thoughts? I know it's early, but what are your thoughts on his development as a rookie and what the Commanders have been able to do?
Well, Caleb Williams threw for 363 last week, so let's not.
But they lost the football game.
Yeah, but let's not overlook that.
And he turned the ball over again.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's the thing. My first thing is, number 1, you got 2 rookies, and it's been 3 games. I'm not really putting one over the other at this point. You just don't know. And there are so many other factors. Remember, offensive lines typically don't gel this early. Defenses tend to gel before offenses do. So it remains to be seen. I've looked at both of these games, and both of these guys spent a lot of time running for their lives. So it's the point of the season is where we're at. Now, that being said, with Jayden Daniels, I feel like they are taking the right approach with him in Washington. They are building the offense around his skill set right now. They are putting him in positions where he's comfortable, where he can
Right.
get the ball at. But at the same time, I want to see him start to now develop the leadership style on that team. Right now he's a great athlete. He's doing what they're giving. He's taking what they're giving him. But at some point, he's going to have to take chances. He's going to have to throw the ball down the field. He's going to have to get his team out of third down situations with his arm instead of his feet. These things are going to have to develop for him. I'm looking forward to that. I do agree. I think he's a good quarterback. Many people are already saying that he is their franchise quarterback of the future. I'm very hopeful that will happen. At the same time, I want them to maintain this approach of let the offense come to him, give him what he's capable of, and just sort of dole it out with him as it goes.
Yeah, and Daniels has got one of the best deep balls in the NFL. I mean, he stretched the field when they played the Bengals, and they beat the Bengals on Monday night.
Yeah.
He had a couple long passes to McLaurin. That touchdown towards the end of the game to seal the game, and he was facing a heavy rush, stood in the pocket, released it with pinpoint accuracy. So shout out to Jayden Daniels. LSU just seems to produce super studded quarterback. Shout out to Burrow as well. His first matchup against Jayden, they both went to LSU. So Jayden Daniels is lighting up the league thus far. I really like his game. But there's a lot of football left to be played. We're going to see how it all plays out. One thing we do know is we're going to move to the Steel City in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Shout out to the Steelers, 3-0, undefeated in the AFC North. That's a big-time surprise because I didn't anticipate the Steelers to come out the gate and be in first place even after 3 weeks. But I got to give Mike Tomlin some love. I mean, he's an outstanding coach. 17 consecutive years with a winning record. Third best all time. You've got Tom Landry in Dallas. When he coached the Cowboys, he was number one. Number two is Bill Belichick when he was in New England. And Mike Tomlin is number 3 on that list. 17 consecutive seasons with a winning record. You know how hard it is to win in the NFL?
Especially with multiple quarterbacks.
I mean, think about that. And many times Tomlin didn't have a real quarterback,
Right.
especially after Big Ben, retired and limped out of Pittsburgh. But at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin has got the Steelers focused. Shout out to Justin Fields. He hasn't made a lot of mistakes. He's been leading the offense, and I still think they need to score more touchdowns. They get to the red zone, and they settle for way too many field goals. But, Justin Fields hasn't been making mistakes. He's using his athleticism. He's using his legs. He's, doing the proper reads. He's throwing the football well. And I definitely like what he's been able to do. I mean, 2 touchdowns, 518 yards passing so far, and only 1 interception. So shout out to the Steelers. I think if they continue on this roll, because I do believe they're going to win this week against the Colts, I think the Steelers are going to win the AFC North if they keep playing like this. The Ravens came out the gate slow, and Cincinnati, they got a big goose egg. They haven't even won a football game yet. And so I don't know what the end all is going to be, but I believe if Pittsburgh continues to play the way they're playing, I see the Steelers winning that division and getting into the playoffs. And that's a big-time surprise. But I don't think I should ever doubt Mike Tomlin. So to be honest with you, I don't even know why I'm surprised, because the man has led the team to 17 consecutive seasons with a winning record. So he never disappoints. What are your thoughts in this division in terms of what the Steelers have been able to do, the play of Justin Fields, and Mike Tomlin's leadership in Pittsburgh? What are you thinking?
Well, a lot of this.
Can they win it?
Yeah, a lot of this we talked about last week. And yes, I do believe they can win it.
Yeah.
We agreed that this is Justin Fields' team going forward.
Yeah.
In fact, I've heard some rumors about, Miami looking to probably pick up Russell Wilson. Now, we'll see what happens. But I believe Mike Tomlin is a great coach. At 17 years, that says something. Like you said, it was multiple quarterbacks, multiple offensive lines, multiple things, and he's been able to maintain that consistency with the team. Now, on top of all of that, if you look at the Steelers' upcoming record, like you said, they've got the Colts. That's a winnable game. They've got the Raiders, a winnable game. The Giants, a winnable game. And the Cowboys could give them some trouble. The Jets could give them some trouble. And then they've got the Commanders. So we'll see where the Commanders are around that November 10th timeframe.
Yeah.
But they really could come out of this in a really good position to take that division.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that schedule, the next 3 or 4 weeks I think those are all winnable games. They may have some challenges against the Jets. I think the Steelers right now are a better team than the Cowboys. I think they would roll the Cowboys personally, but we'll see. That's why they play the game and they line it up and they lace it up. It remains to be seen. One thing that isn't remaining to be seen is shout out to the big boss dog, Snoop Dogg, LBC, Snoop Dogg. Really the most influential and popular hip-hop artist on the planet. I mean, we're talking all the way from Paris, France, when he was out there as an ambassador for the Olympics, you know, making about $500,000 a day. He's worth every penny. Shout out to the big boss dog, Snoop, for doing what he does. You know, in his career, I believe he's been an ambassador for over 50 brands of different products and doing his thing. You know, plus he's got the cookbook. I haven't picked it up yet, but I'm definitely anxious to check that out and see all the great recipes in there. He's currently working on an album with Dr. Dre. They reunited. Missionary, what a great title, right? So he's got the cookbook right there, From Crook to Cook. And then he's got a project with Dr. Dre soon to be dropping in November called Missionary. I'm looking forward to hearing that album. It's probably going to be classic work like it always is between Dre and Snoop. You get them together, and yeah, you know you in trouble because it ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. Taking it back a little bit, but shout out to Snoop. You know, has so many endorsements with Corona, Petco, I mean, T-Mobile. He's just everywhere. I really love his energy. He is definitely welcomed and embraced worldwide, not just in California, not just in America, but all over the world. So the big boss dog is doing it big time. A great businessman as well. And shout out to Death Row Records, back on the scene, Death Row Films. He's just got so many things going on. I believe he was the executive producer on the film 1992 with Tyrese. I have yet to see that project, so I definitely want to check that out. And speaking of community and giving back and just uplifting the youth, you know, he also has the Youth Football League, which he's mentored a lot of these young kids, a lot of these young athletes. I mean, you have the great C.J. Stroud, you know, who plays right now for the Houston Texans. He participated in Snoop's Youth Football League. You got Lenore, who's a great defensive player for the 49ers. You know, you've got Romeo Dobbs, who plays for the Packers. You've also got Jack Jones, who's a Raider. So he not only has influenced the community in terms of uplifting the youth, but a lot of these younger players have then moved on to play in the league at the next level. So I love what he's doing to the community. I love how he's uplifting these athletes and dedicating his time and his knowledge and his efforts. A big time shout out. And he's got a movie on Amazon Prime, The Underdogs. If you haven't seen it, you got to check that out. That's a great project. I love it. You know, make sure you guys that are watching the show, if you haven't, make sure you stream that on Amazon Prime. It's called The Underdogs, starring Snoop Dogg. And it's got a lot of twists and turns. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. You just got to go watch it. But that was a great project. I really enjoyed that film from Snoop. So he never disappoints. He's just doing his thing. Always representing Long Beach, West Coast to the fullest. Much love and respect to you, Big Snoop. We'd love to have you come pull up. We're in Long Beach. Come pull up and function with us. But all love and respect to Snoop Dogg. It's about that time, and you know what time it is. I got the game pick segment, and I'm excited. So far for the year, I am 5-2-2 on the season. I got 5 games right. I got 2 wrong, and I had 2 games that push. So right now, I'm at 5-2-2. 5 wins, 2 losses, and 2 pushes. Or you can call them ties if you want. But we're going to start off in New York. We got the Denver Broncos coming into the Big Apple, and they're landing. And the betting line was started at 8.5. It's went down to 7.5. And I'm telling you right now, I really like Bo Nix as a quarterback. I know he's young. I know he's still learning. I know Sean Payton is still developing him as a talent. But I like the Broncos here. I think you swallow the plus 7.5. Take the Broncos to cover the points. I don't see the Jets winning this game in dominating fashion. I think the Jets are a good team. They're still trying to figure life out with Aaron Rodgers now. I think defensively, the Broncos, if they can run the football and keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, I think they've got a great chance to keep this game tight, especially going into the fourth quarter. So I like the Broncos here. I don't know why the betting line opened at 8.5. That is a heavy number. So I'm looking at the number. I'm not saying Denver's going to win the game. I'm just looking at the number. And I think even at plus 7.5, Denver is valid here. I think they're live. I think you should roll with the Broncos. Extra lettuce on the sandwich. You know what time it is. So roll with Denver at plus 7.5. I still think the Jets end up winning the game. I think final score will probably be Jets 24, Broncos 17. So they still cover it by that hook. But I like Denver here with plus 7.5, and I like them with the points. Moving on, we're going to go to the windy city of Chicago because we got the LA Rams touching down in Chi-Town. Shout out to the Rams and Sean McVay. I know they've been banged up. Cooper Kupp is out. Puka Nacua is out. But even with the injuries, you got Sean McVay. You still got Matthew Stafford as a quarterback, and you've got some good role complementary players on that roster. So the betting line right now, and this is a surprise to me, is the Rams are a 3-point dog going into this game against Caleb Williams and the Bears. I believe that the Rams are active, and I think they're going to cover the 3 points. I would not be surprised if the Rams go in there and win the game outright. Chicago this year, they've been a mess. I mean, they've only won one football game, and the defense came back and won that game for them on opening day against the Titans. So that's not saying much because Tennessee is not a very good football team. But when you look at this situation, Caleb Williams, I think he's got a bright future in the NFL, but he's been a turnover machine for Chicago. He's making poor decisions. He's under duress. He doesn't have any protection from that offensive line. I think he's vulnerable to make more mistakes when they play the Rams. And when you look at the situation in Chicago on Sunday, the Rams have the better quarterback with Matthew Stafford. They got the better head coach with Sean McVay, and I think they have some momentum building up. So I like the Rams here. I think they're live at plus 3. I have no idea what the odds makers are thinking or what they were drinking or smoking when they set that line, but I definitely believe the Rams are all the way active. And in fact, I believe the Rams are going to win this game outright, but swallow the 3 points, roll with the Rams. I think they pull it out, and I think it's a low-scoring game. I like the Rams 24, Chicago 17. Moving on, we are going to go to Los Angeles, California. California, home. Now, we got the LA Chargers playing Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes coming into town with Andy Reid and Kelsey and Worthy and all those great players. So, Kansas City's been banged up. They recently lost Pacheco. He's out with a fractured fibula, I believe, and he won't be back in the lineup for probably another 6 to 8 weeks. Edwards-Helaire is still on the injured reserve list. Hopefully he'll be back soon. They definitely have got some injuries on the offensive side of the football. This is an old school AFC West division rivalry game. Speaking of injuries, Justin Herbert's got a high ankle sprain. He is questionable to play in this game. But when you got Jim Harbaugh and you got J.K. Dobbins in the backfield and the way that the Chargers have been running the football, I really like what, Harbaugh's instilled here in L.A. with the Chargers. I see them being a whole different team. They already look like a whole different team for the better, right? So the betting line on this is the Chargers are a 7-point dog at plus 7. Now, these teams have a history of beating up on each other over the years in the AFC West. The Chargers always seem to play Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City tough. They don't win a lot of the games, but they definitely cover the spread, and these games go down to the wire. So I think 7 points is way too much. Take the Chargers. I think they're live at plus 7. I still believe that Kansas City will win the game late. Probably a Booker field goal at the end. But I do like the Chargers to stay in this game. I think Kansas City pulls it out late, 23-20. So, just to recap my picks for week 4 of the NFL season, I like the Broncos to go into the Big Apple and cover plus 7.5. I like the Rams to not only go into Chicago and cover the 3, I think they win it outright. And I like the LA Chargers to cover the spread at +7 against the Chiefs. So there we go. It's time to get paid. Extra lettuce on the sandwich. And with that being said, it's time to bring the pain. So Solomon, let's let it rain. Yeah. Episode 43 is in the books. Make sure you tap in. Support the movement at Sports Hop Media, at Mack B. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate the love. Peace. Thanks for watching Sports Hop. For all the latest news on hip hop and sports, subscribe here and keep it locked. It's your boy Mack B.